For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joined me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
After the Constitutional Court hearing, many people are asking themselves what this means for President Jacob Zuma as the president of the ANC as well as the president of the country. What is your view?
Yeah, I think the Constitutional Court hearing was very dramatic in the sense of how much was conceded by Zuma's counsel, the Minister of Police's counsel, and eventually counsel for the Speaker. But it's not a new question whether Zuma's presidency is in question or not. It's not something new. It's just that I think this week was incredibly dramatic, that everything that they have been arguing for about 2 or 3 years about Nkandla, they more or less conceded was illegal or not, didn't have a legal basis. But I think people raise questions about Zuma's leadership, obviously also because of the firing of Dhlamini as Minister of Finance last year and collapse of the currency in an unprecedented manner. Something like, if you compare what had been about a year before, it was almost 50% or 100% more. Like I remember it was 8 rands to the dollar about a year or two back. Now it's 16. At one point it was over 16. And I don't think Zuma had a proper appreciation of the character of the damage that he was causing. And consequently, a lot of people went to speak to him, and he reversed this, and he brought in Pravin Gordhan, and at the same time created new problems, because this man Van Rooyen he brought in as Minister of Finance was then moved to a Ministry of Cooperative Governance. Now, cooperative governance is very complicated. You've got local government, where you've got massive corruption, lack of clean audits, a malfunctioning of governance, but then the same department deals with traditional leaders. So there's a lot of negotiations that have to be undertaken in order to ensure that democracy works at a local level. Now, Gordhan had the experience to be able to do this. Gordhan has a lot of experience from the 1980s working in civics and things like this. This man, Van Rooyen, his major experience had been in local government, where his house had been burnt down because people were unhappy with him. But whether that had happened or not, there's no demonstrable reason for him holding the position. And this is part of an overall malgovernance that one associates with Zuma. And I think people shouldn't be surprised with it. You have people making statements yesterday that they hope that the president will make a speech which will re-inspire people with his leadership and act like a president. Now, I find it very hard to understand why people are expecting normal patterns of governance that you might associate with Westminster, places like this, from Zuma, because from the moment he came in under various clouds. When he became president of the ANC, he had been facing hundreds, not 10 or 20 or 1 or 2, hundreds of charges of fraud, racketeering, and they were withdrawn under circumstances that many people question, and in fact is before the courts. And those charges might well be reinstated. The people who combined to see him be elected were, on the one hand, sections of business who were unhappy with Mbeki, but there were also the left, COSATU and SACP. Now, everyone expected to gain something from Zuma's presidency. Zuma's presidency is very tied to patronage. Patronage being ways in which you keep people's support by giving them benefits like positions or contracts, things like that. Now, there wasn't enough to go around, and it's also hard to balance demands of business and crooks on the one hand, and the left on the other hand. And SACP and COSATU seem to have basically caved in and accepted this in exchange for being part of government. But the way in which Zuma has continued to govern has been inherently unstable. Insofar as you don't have enough loot to go around, enough government positions, enough government contracts, it has led to conflict within the ANC. When people talk about factions, it's not really political differences. It's battles over who will be in this position or that position, as in KZN. Right now there's a murder trial. SACP person was shot in KZN, and some sections of the ANC are very closely associated with the SACP there, and there's a division. But it's not a division over strategy and tactics. It's a division over who holds what positions. So we've had an instability relating to how Zuma governs, which also creates instability in state institutions. For example, when he appoints people to key state entities, like the NPA, the SAA, SARS, it's not for reasons that are defensible in terms of the functioning of the institutions. In fact, one of the first things that happened after his election is that the appointment of Menzies Simelane as head of the NPA was set aside. The court said that there couldn't be a rational basis for having him as head of the NPA, and he had to appoint someone else. And then we've seen a series of people go through there, and you've seen a series of irregularities. I mean, the deputy head, who was acting head for a long time, was supposed to be charged with, I think it was fraud and a few defeating the ends of justice, and the new head simply got those removed. So there's a lot of divisions within these institutions. In general, you have a situation where people don't feel that the ship of state is being steered. Zuma either doesn't make decisions for a very long time, or he lets people do things which create chaos, and he doesn't really intervene for a very, very long time. And consequently, for people in business, for example, there isn't the regularity that you need. Now, the problem that I have is that if you don't have a climate for business, what are they doing about it? You know, if you've got to pay something under the table in addition to the price of the contract, is that good for business? Why don't they do something about it? I think what they're doing is preferring to talk to people, to talk to Zuma, to have a personal relationship, rather than say, we will have to move our business elsewhere unless you create a climate that is suitable for our work. Now, they're not doing that. So what I think is the Constitutional Court decision obviously creates instability around Zuma as a leader. he will have to pay back the money. How will he pay back the money? Where will he get the money from? And we know that it's likely to be from some source that is not so savoury. And this creates a situation where the head of state continues to not enjoy the respect of the population as a whole, not to be someone who is exemplary, which he ought to be.
And do you think that the court's hearing now will prove to be a decisive moment and possibly for his removal?
You see, if the president is removed, if he were to be impeached, it would have to be done by Parliament, and the ANC is unlikely to do this. ANC may decide that having Zuma as leader is costing them more than getting rid of him. But a lot of people are getting benefits from Zuma being president. So they have to weigh up what is the advantage of him going, who will take his place, and there's a lot of issues there which operate apart from what is right and what is wrong. Although when the Nene thing occurred, people realized that what he has unleashed here is going to destroy investment for our country. We're going to go to junk status, and we're going to have to pay much more for loans and things like this. So consequently, Zuma is in danger, but there are too many people, there are a lot of people who benefit from his being in office. They have to weigh up. Will they benefit more from sinking with him, or will they survive for longer by sitting with him?
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about Zuma's future and our future.